Hey there, it's Daniel with Slow Haste. Hello, and welcome to my review of the Arturia Microfreak. The Arturia Microfreak is an experimental, algorithmic hybrid synthesizer. It has been quite popular since its release due to the attractive price point and sonic versatility, and to be upfront, there really is nothing quite like it on the market today, especially at the $350 price point. This particular unit is a loaner from a friend, and in the past few weeks I've had a blast exploring the synth engines, the sequencer, and most notably, playing with the deep yet incredibly intuitive modulation matrix. Before I go over my thoughts, let's briefly speak about some of the key specs that I want to highlight. The Arturia Microfreak features a growing group of digital synth engines, currently offering 16. To note, many of these engines are taken from the Mutable Instruments module Platts, which was one of my first modules in my personal Eurorack synth. The Microfreak includes 384 preset slots, to which you can save new sounds as you discover them. The Microfreak has a monophonic mode and a 4-voice paraphonic mode. For sound shaping, you get analog state variable filter with low pass, band pass, and high pass settings, an ADSR envelope, and an additional cycling envelope with an LFO mode, and one of my favorite features, as I mentioned, the mod matrix, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Perhaps the most noticeable feature of the Microfreak is the 25-key capacitive PCB, or printed circuit board, keybed, with polyphonic aftertouch. This is a defining visual characteristic of the synth, and perhaps one of the more polarizing features, but I think Arturia did a great job in making this an immediately recognizable instrument. To top it off, the Microfreak has CV, gate, and mod inputs, and USB/clock/MIDI in and out. As stated, my favorite part about the Microfreak is the modulation matrix. You can use this to modulate virtually any parameter on the synth. You get 5 sources and 7 destinations, including 3 custom destinations. This is incredibly unique and deep for such an affordable synth, in my opinion. So let's take a basic patch and I can show you the mod matrix in action. I'm going to specifically focus on polyphonic aftertouch with this example. So here's my patch. As you can see, we can move the selector around on the mod matrix, and here I have highlighted pressure and pitch. So if you click, you can adjust the amount, and it's pretty low right now. But it's still there, so let's get really crazy with it so I can show you. So you get some pretty heavy pitch bending. And you can get some really wonky stuff because it's polyphonic aftertouch. Crazy. Another thing that I love about the Microfreak is the general flexibility with sound design. It's really a great tool for those moments when you just want to quickly find a pretty wild sound, to break the mold if you're feeling stuck or bored with your workflow or the typical palette of noises you work with. If nothing else, making sounds on the Microfreak is incredibly fun. I think the sequencer plays into this quite well too. Some of my favorite presets include sequences I made before I really actually knew what I was doing with the sequencer. Sometimes you'll just find favorable results coming from experimentation, and the Microfreak surely encourages this. I recently made a video focused on a sequence that I sampled from the Microfreak into the Digitact to make a beat, so definitely go check that out if you want to see a detailed example. I'll try to remember to link a card in this video. And here's just an example of another kind of random, weird, dissonant sequence that I created with one of the presets I made. And this works really well for the type of utility I like to implement with synths, which is really focused on sound design for sampling. Right now, I'm using the Digitact a ton, so it's really great to be able to kind of pull this out, make something crazy, sample it, and refine it, and kind of make sense out of it in a rhythmic sense when I'm programming on the Digitact. So what don't I like about the Microfreak? Well, to be completely fair, there really isn't a ton that I dislike about the Microfreak. I think that if you're looking for something with a full, rich analog-like texture, this is not the thing for you. It's very digital sounding, in the same way that the OP1 can be. That said, there are always methods to beef up some of the sounds with effects or, in post-production, and in all honesty, for the price point, I think it sounds incredible. I don't think the sound is bad, it's just very digital. I just want to be upfront that it isn't going to scratch that analog itch if that's the thing you're after. And this is totally a personal preference, but one thing I'm not too keen on is the nature of the parameter knobs. There is a detailed breakdown of what each parameter knob controls within each synth engine in the manual, but with so many engines, there isn't necessarily an easy way to memorize all of this for someone who's diving right in and isn't used to presets. It's not a huge problem, but where there isn't really any interface to hint at how the sound is changing, it can all feel a little bit arbitrary with the controls in each engine, especially when all the parameters interact so closely together. From a sound design perspective, this is actually kind of a good thing because it forces you to focus on what you're hearing rather than just trying to program a specific parameter, and overall it's just another thing to be aware of. It's a definite quirk inherent to an instrument like this. So who is the Microfreak for? The Microfreak is really quite a flexible instrument, and I think it has a variety of applications and plenty of utility in anyone's arsenal. The price point makes it a relatively accessible entry point into the world of digital multi-voiced synths. I might not recommend it to a very beginner due to the sometimes complex nature of its menus and relatively extensive feature set, but it would be a great companion synth or a next step up from something like the Arturia Mini Brute or Micro Brute, or the Korg Monologue, for example. Or if you're decently versed in synthesis foundations, it could be a great first piece of hardware, if you're okay with that PCB keypad. It can also provide a ton of utility for higher level players and enthusiasts with its already expansive and quickly growing sound arsenal. I personally found a ton of utility in how quickly I could program unique but still musically interesting patches. In fact, I found myself programming patches that were all a bit similar to each other, and to be completely honest, it made me realize I would almost prefer something a little bit more focused on the types of sounds I'm currently interested in. I've found that I like to use modular as my sound design piece, and if I'm going to have something with a keyboard, I'd rather have a full keyboard that I can play. But to be fair, there is a ton of value in spending time with a synth that can help you understand what you do and don't want out of a synth in general. Although it may not be the most straightforward, it could surely help somebody explore different types of wavetable or analog styles to help them learn what they truly want to hone in on. That's surely something to keep in mind. Well, thanks again for joining today. I hope you found something useful, and I definitely think you should check out the Microfreak. If nothing else, it's a ton of fun, and definitely one of the more innovative lower price point synths that's come out in recent years. Well, that's it for this one, folks. Thanks again for joining as always. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and take care of yourself. Peace.